Okay, we just finished two teams' presentation. Okay, we now come to the third team. It will be unit 10, right? So get ready. Okay. The third presentation today is going to be made by Unit 10. The topic of your presentation is the moral rights under Chinese copyright law. And the judge who is going to ask the question is Professor Miura from OIT. So make sure the computer is okay, and whenever you are ready, we will start the timing.
Good morning, dear professor and friends. I am Cai Jiaen. Here is my partner, Fang Shulong and Xia Yuxin. We are from Graduate School of Science and International Law, the National Tech University. We are honorably represent our topic here today, the moral rights under Chinese copyright law. Here's our outline. In the first chapter, we will start to introduce the three set of moral rights in Western mainstream copyright law and in Chinese copyright law. And the second part, we will briefly introduce the Chinese copyright law history and its moral rights. Then, in order to analyze the feature of Chinese copyright law, we will take three classical cases of Chinese copyright law. Then we will make a short conclusion for today's presentation. We are humbly begging your attention and your generous advices after our present. Thank you. Now, before we introduce the Chinese copyright law, I want to introduce the moral rights under Western mainstream copyright. And the standard set of moral rights in Western copyright has 5 types of moral rights on next pages. First, the authorship. The author has the right to claim his work. Second, the attribution. The author has the right to prevent to use one's name on the work that the author didn't create. And the third, the integrity. The author has the right to prevent any destruction, distortion, or modification on his work. Just like this picture of the textbook was modified like this. And the fourth, the publication. The author has a right to make his work available to the public, just like this author could make his work published to the market. Here is novel. And the last one, withdraw. Even the author has made his work available to the public, he still has a right to withdraw his book, to take his book off the market. And after the standard set of Western mainstream copyright, I want to introduce the Berne Convention. The Berne Convention was passed in Bern, capital city of Switzerland, in 1886 and was implemented in 1887. Most of Berne Convention's articles have affected many important intellectual property treaties directly. For example, the WIPO Copyright Treaty, in short, WCT, and the agreement on child-related aspects of intellectual property rights, in short, TRIPS. However, the moral rights under Berne Convention only admits two types. First one, the authorship. The author should have a right to claim authorship of the work. And second one, the integrity. The author should have a right to object to any distortion, manipulation, or other modification of the work. Now, after my brief introduction of Western copyright law, it's time for elaborate the details of Chinese copyright. So, it's my partner Fang Xu's turn, please.
Thanks to my partner, Cai Jiang, good day, ladies and gentlemen. And I will carry on to introduce the China copyright law. How it origins was a characteristic on its own, and how it works today. Let's take a look at the timeline here. Comparison to the United States copyright law or other Western countries, the history of China copyright law is quite short, only 25 years since 1990. However, when in 1992, the China had been joined into the Berne Convention, the copyright law in China has been modified for 7 times. The first time in October 27. October 27, 2001, and the second one is 2010, and later already through the third amendment in 2012, but it's still only a state of drift. But no matter how they modify their acts, there's only one purpose to make the law. In order to promoting the development of association culture and technology. Thus, they put this principle into their Article 1 of the China copyright law. In this page, as you can see the table, our study compares the Chinese own moral rights to all Western moral rights. Like the treaties or nations, on the top columns, including the Berne Convention, the United States, Japan, Taiwan, and China. The left column is a regular 5 types of moral rights: the authorship, integrity, publication, attribution, and withdrawal. Nevertheless, China has its own moral rights, the religion. The Berne Convention and the United States could be a likest protection in their acts, only the rights of authorship and integrity. In addition, the publications has been protected in Japan, Taiwan, and China copyright law. The last two rights, the attribution and authorship rights, has no employment in these countries, but in the French and German does. The China copyright law contains the 4 types of moral rights: the authorship, integrity, publication, and religion. 3 of them are the same right to others, but the region is quite unique. We present this following 3 cases to narrate the moral rights in China. Let's take a look at our first case, in for selling the fake painting. I will use this case to elaborate how China copyright law can protect the attribution right for the author. In the beginning, the plaintiff, Guanzhong, who is a famous painter with a very high reputation in China market, and the defendants, Guo Yinxuan, a gallery in Shanghai, and Yongchen Wuwan, an antique collection company in Hong Kong. They were both to co-host the auction of China Temporary Calligraphy and Painting in October 1993. These artworks are provided by Bo Yunxuan after this auction. Furthermore, they published the painting into a picture album and central art units. Here's a controversial painting, the Portrait Monk. The plaintiff was being told a painting in auction has marked his name, Wu Guanzhong. Then the plaintiff already announced that it wasn't his work and informed these two companies for many times. However, he did not get any official answer. The plaintiff decided to sue this company for an injunction of auction, public damages, large mandatory damages. In the end of this case, the court for the defendants of third paintings, which attributed to Wu Guanzhong's name, was a direct infringement of the plaintiff's attribution right. This behavior is equivalent to violating his right of authorship. In this, the plaintiff won the case. In some of these cases, as we mentioned before, there are 4 types of China moral rights that contains the attributions. Though the China copyright law will allow the rights of attribution, however, this right already embodies on its own judgment. In the end of my portion, I will leave the rest to my non-parliament, Cai Yuxu. She will continually to expand the revision and integrity in our cases.
Thanks to my two partners. And as we mentioned before, here are 4 kinds of moral rights under the China copyright law: the authorship right, the publication right, the integrity right, and the revision right. And now you may wonder, what's the difference between the integrity right and the revision right? First, if someone do harm to a person's public reputation, but without modifying the person's artwork, just like the yellow region here, that person may be liable to infringe the author's integrity right. And we'll have an example case, the case that is related. But second, if a person modify other artwork and modify the other's artwork without doing harm to the reputation, the person may be liable to infringe the author's revision rights. But what if the person not only modify others' artwork and also do harm to the reputation? And it is very difficult to distinguish this. First, let's see case study 2. Shen Zhahe sued Beijing Publisher Company. Shen Zhahe is a novelist in China, and his novel is famous of its Beijing characteristics. In this case, Beijing Publisher modified Shen Zhahe's novel and published it without his permission. And the published novels are found out many mistakes. Thus, Shen Zhahe saw the Beijing publisher not only infringed his revision right, but also his integrity right. In this end of the case, the court held that although the Beijing publisher modified Shen Zhahe's novels and published it, the modification didn't affect the Beijing style of the novels, and thus the Beijing publisher didn't infringe his revision rights. However, the Beijing publisher published the books with a lot of printing errors, and this one would do harm to Shen Zhahe's reputation and thus infringed his integrity right. And now let's move on to the case 33. Lin Yi sued China News Press. Lin Yi is a photographer who took a photo named Xiao Guang, just like this. For praising the police who worked hard for investigating the smuggling. However, in this case, China news press used this photo as to expose the corruption of the China officials. And thus, Lin thought the China news press infringed his integrity right, and the court held the staff opinion as being his one. And here is a feature of China copyright law. If the modification is to uphold the national policy and also to further the socialism, even if the modification is to harm to the author's integrity right, then modification will be allowed. And this is the draft of China copyright law in 2012. The China copyright law combines the revision right and the integrity right as the integrity right, and thus we won't get messed up those two rights in the future. And here is our conclusion. We found out two interesting.
The end of the presentation. Now we proceed to the Q&A session. You will have questions from Professor Miura from OIT for 10 minutes.
Thank you for your interest in this presentation. I'm very interested in copyright system, and so at first, I start from general question. Copyright, traditionally, copyright is right to copy. So the role of the publisher is very important. So there is a program between publishers and the publisher has only property license from the author, and the author has both moral rights and what do you think is the appropriate balance for this property right and what do you think is the appropriate balance for property rights of property rights moral rights in the case of copyright?
15 seconds. Okay, please answer the question.
First, thanks for your question. And in our team, we thought it is the best case to those two rights is to protect not only the property right but also the moral right. But however, in fact, there are many difficulties to protect this right very well. And thus we think in order to further and to encourage the authors, encourage them to publish more great or even more better works, we think if we have to choose one right, we'll choose to protect the author's moral rights.
Then concerning case study 2, you say this consists of infringement of copyright by the publishers, the publisher. After learning what they contain, but I wonder if it is an appropriate for
creative vision of us to this. This is the first question. And second is this an important factor to thinking the number of thinking errors? This is the second.
15 seconds.
Excuse me, and could you please rephrase the second question, please?
Okay. You say that many a lot of thinking errors is harmful for the repetition. But is this objective evaluated by some evidence? Two evidence. It is harm or not? Author or judge?
15 seconds.
Yes, Mr. Professor Moore. In this case, the publisher wants to correction the author's printing rules on his book. However, the author thinks this damages his reputation to do this act. So they after many negotiations, so the author decided to sue this publisher against his authorship or provide his integrity. Do I answer the question? Thank you.
I'd like to know social usual past life, the parody of Mona Lisa. Do you think he is thinking officer or not in Chinese law?
15 seconds.
Is it a lawful party or illegal?
15 seconds.
I think the author of this painting, Leonardo da Vinci, is a very passed away for many centuries. It's over the tracing periods of the time. So I
But
think
if Da Vinci is a modern artist, then what?
we consider this a parody of this painting. I think. Because the letter writer painter already make a lot of change. So it's not the same to the original painting. So we can see that it's a new creation. So it is not valid at all.
What is the landmark or semester in parody and revision by Leonardo video by the publisher? Case 2. So case 1, 2. In case of 1, 2, this is a program video, and in the past one you showed the paragraph of some unexamples parallel. What is the difference for these?
Excuse me, is it case 1 or case 2? Both. In the case 1, the auction companies make up I have no idea where the pennies come from.